Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at an interesting way to keep you on your toes at the same time as work on your emergency handling, and that's by simulating an oil leak. Now there's a lot of different failures we have here, and I'm actually kind of surprised how few failures there are here. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong on a plane, and knowing how to deal with them, that's kind of really what you're there for. Landing's secondary, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to arm the failure here, and we can set it to be armed, or we can just set it to be off, kind of a thing like that. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to straight up enable the failure, which means our engine has already got an oil system leak in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and load up our place. We're going to start take off from Hartford, and we're going to see what happens in our pattern. All right, we're ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and give it full power. And already I would not normally fly this airplane. They're probably saying, why would you not fly this airplane? Because I'm looking down and I noticed that an oil pressure and it immediately froze up and the aircraft engine shut off. So unfortunately, our oil leak here was so quick, we weren't even able to get in the air, which doesn't make for a very effective experience. Let's go back and tweak it. Alrighty, let's do it. So what I've done is I've changed my scenario just a tiny bit so that our oil leak actually has a random interval. Now, the reason this works really well is because as a pilot, you can prepare for a specific strategy or specific problem. You can't necessarily know when it's going to happen. So you have to kind of go through the motions here. So I'm going to go ahead and get our aircraft nice and airborne. Uh-oh, oil pressure warning. Oh boy, abort. Full brakes, full brakes, full brakes. And that was the world's fastest failure. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm immediately going to cut the engine off. We don't want to do any more damage to it. And we are all set. Whew. Okay, we were safe. We were able to catch that error before the aircraft actually got in the air. In 1 minute, apparently, to flight sim includes the time that it takes for the thing to do its little load up there. Sigh again. This time, definitely. So what I've done is I've just adjusted our little oil leak, the start and end point here. So we'll see what happens. So like I was saying before, I had a great interruption, which actually forced me to do what I was supposed to do. Is basically fly around the pattern. We're going to do a standard little operation. We're going to pretend it's a completely normal day. A little bit of right foot, and we immediately got an oil pressure warning. And again, that was not 2 minutes, flight sim, not 2 minutes. And we're just going to go ahead and set the plane down. Real careful. We're going to hold the brakes all the way towards us, and we're going to secure the engine immediately. All right. We got airborne this time. Oh, geez. And now we have an air oil pressure warning. So incredibly, the engine still runs, and believe it or not, when you do have an oil failure, one of the initial instincts is to immediately shut the engine down. It's an emergency. You've got to use that engine as long as you can keep it going here. So I'm going to extract every little bit of energy and power out of that engine while I can. So of course, when did the random failure decide to trigger? It decided to trigger after I'd gotten past the 800 foot point here. And there goes the engine. Engine is out. We're immediately going to get our gliding speed here. That's going to be about 60 knots. Looks pretty good, about 60, 65. And we're going to keep ourselves as close to the runway as we can. So we need a plan. I've got a plan. I'm going to land on the crosswind runway. Now, optimally, you're like, oh, you should be landing on the big runway. No. Whenever you're in an emergency situation, and why I love this kind of failure is because you don't know when it's actually going to finish, is you've got to react quickly and you've got to react immediately. Come up with a plan, stick to the plan. Don't try to second guess yourself here. So I'm going to keep myself, I've got 1 notch of flaps down, which means I get 60 knots as my new glide speed. You want to maintain as much power in this thing as I can. You can desperately try to restart the engine and everything like that. Does not matter. This is an emergency. I don't care about this plane anymore. Get it through your head. Nobody cares about the plane. The only thing that matters now is your life and trying to preserve that of your passengers and anybody on the ground. So we're coming in real fast here. I'm going to go ahead and pop myself into a real aggressive slip. And we're just going to put this thing down on the ground very gently. It's not going to be a smooth landing, but that's okay. And we're just going to go ahead and hold it like that. Keep us on the runway, a little bit of right, a little bit of left, and we are down. So the reason I like that particular failure to practice is you don't know how long you have till it fails. And second of all, you get that kind of slow failure. When you do a straight up engine failure, it's a little bit more challenging because everything just shuts off. But this one gives a little bit of variability to it, which makes it very, very challenging. Now, if you want to up the ante a little bit, try this with a twin engine airplane and watch what happens when it fails. So as you can see, like I said, little oil leak there happened very quick. There's been stories of oil leaks and the airplanes run for 15 minutes afterwards. There are cases where it had a drop of oil, hit the thing, and immediately started a huge fire. So there's a lot of different variation there. But like I said, if you're looking for that extra little bit of variability and that extra little bit of challenge, try setting a random interval and then run around the pattern. You can set that interval. Like I was experimenting, I ended up with an interval of something like 8 minutes, 12 minutes in order to get it to work. And I had to run around a bunch of times to actually make it happen. But as you can see, what a fantastic way to practice that without having that predictable element to it, forcing you to really think in the moment. Enjoy.